Welcome back. This morning in our spotlight, we're talking about the murder of 20-year-old nursing student Holly Bobo and how her killer's efforts are ongoing to get a new trial. So listen to this. So Zachary Adams is going to be back in court later this morning for a post-conviction relief hearing that's supposed to last a few days. This is an attempt by him to overturn his conviction. So he was convicted of Holly Bobo's murder back in 2017. But now, another defendant who testified against him at trial has recanted his testimony. So Mr. Adams is petitioning the court for a brand new trial. Court TV's Julia Janae has the backstory.
First-degree felony murder of Holly Bobo during the perpetration of or attempt to perpetrate kidnapping of Holly Bobo. You checked guilty of first-degree felony murder of Holly Bobo. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
20-year-old Holly Bobo disappeared from her home in 2011. 6 years later, Zachary Adams was convicted for the kidnapping, rape, and killing of Bobo and was sentenced to life in prison, thanks mostly to the testimony of this man.
Jason Autry, Jason-Autry.
Jason Autry testified at trial, recounting the day Bobo was kidnapped, claiming Zachary Adams and his brother wrapped Bobo in a blanket, placed her in the back of a pickup truck, drove her to a river, and shot her.
And I grabbed the upper torso of Miss Bobo. Jack come around, let the tailgate down. I brought the upper torso to the end of the tailgate.
But now Autry claims he made it all up. He sat down with Nick Barris at Scripps News Group Nashville before the trial to say this.
Make no mistake, Jason Autry is a liar. He told two stories, and the question now is which one to believe. The answer will decide if a convicted killer goes free.
Right hand before God, and the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, I didn't bother that girl. Go forward, go fast.
And all of a sudden, Jason Autry is saying he made everything up, that he was able to make up all those details because his attorney provided him discovery. And with that discovery, he was able to sound very convincing at trial.
Zachary Adams is now appealing his conviction due to Autry recanting his testimony in hopes he will be granted a new trial.
Oh my, what a mess this case is. Julia Janae reporting there for us. So let's talk about whether convicted killer Zachary Adams should get a new trial. Let's bring in our legal eagles, Mario Gallucci and Tommy Pope. Mario, what do you think here? Just based on the little bit that we know, I recognize the hearing is going to begin today, so we'll know more in the coming days. But based on the little bit of reporting we have from Julia and from our Scripps affiliate, what are your thoughts, please?
So, Julie, this is a circumstantial evidence case. And when you think of circumstantial evidence, you should think of it as like a jigsaw puzzle. And the prosecutor's job is to take all the pieces of the puzzle, put them together, and have the jury follow that and put the whole puzzle together. So in this case, Autry's testimony was probably one of the largest pieces of that puzzle. There was not a lot of forensic evidence in this case to begin with. So Autry's testimony was the biggest piece of this puzzle, and more than likely the reason that there was a conviction here. Now, for him to recant everything that happened and be told that he received the discovery, which is not unusual, but that should have been brought out at the trial, that he had received the discovery, that he had read the discovery. And if you listen to his testimony there, it was pretty scripted in the fact that he was talking exactly about how somebody moved this way, and then I pulled the torso over here, and I lowered the back of the car. I mean, those are things that you would see in discovery. So this is going to be very interesting to see what happens going forward at this hearing.
Yeah, great points, Mario. Thank you. Tommy, your thoughts on this, whether this guy could get a new trial here?
I think, the issue now, if I understand it, initially he made an appeal for a new trial based on these statements. I do notice the co-defendant, first thing he says is, I didn't have anything to do with it. And so oftentimes what I've seen is once they're in prison, they've kind of exhausted one angle. So I'm talking about Autry now. They'll come up with another, angle to try to to get themselves in a better position, and they really don't care about the collateral damage. But the PCR, as both of you know, is really, did the court do the right job? Did my attorneys do the right job? And so I think Mario really hit on something there. If this was there for subject to cross in the first place and the attorney didn't do it, the defense attorney didn't do it, was he effective as counsel? And that may be the best angle on the PCR more than the recanting, because I saw under their law, normally the recanting has to do with, does it create an alibi? Does it create a clear pattern of not guilty? And the judge had ruled in that part that that was not the case, that even though he recanted, it didn't change all the other evidence.
Oh, great points. Tommy, thank you for that. Mario, tell me, if you were representing Zachary Adams, tell me, what would be some of the things you would be raising this week as you go before the court in the hearing? What would you really key in on in terms of his rights and why he potentially should receive a fair trial again?
So I would want to see if there's any communication between Autry and Adams since he's been incarcerated. If you could show that they haven't spoken to each other, that there's no communication between the two of them, and that Autry, out of nowhere, had a coming to Jesus moment, and he said, I testified, I lied, and this man is now in jail for the rest of his life. So I think that's what he probably needs to demonstrate, is that there's no communication between these two, that Adams had nothing to do with Autry's recanting of the testimony. And like I said earlier, the forensics in this case was minimal. I mean, Autry's testimony was it. I mean, Autry's testimony was the biggest piece of the puzzle.
Right. Mario, that's such an important point when we think about what Holly Bobo's family is probably going through right now, probably nervous as ever, thinking, oh my gosh, is all that hard work going to be undone? Is the justice going to go backwards now? Will prosecutors be able to prove it a second time around? This is just such an awful case, one that's been talked about in the true crime community for a long time, and clearly we're not done. So our hearts go out to Holly Bobo's family. Excellent analysis from you both.